There is a moment in everyone's life when motivation simply disappears. You wake up one morning, and the spark that once pushed you forward has gone silent. You stare at the same goals you wrote months ago, and they feel distant, almost foreign. The music that once fueled your drive no longer stirs anything inside you. And in that stillness, most people stop. They wait for the feeling to return, as if progress were a guest who must knock politely before entering again. But the truth that changes everything, is that motivation was never meant to stay. It visits like the wind, strong, loud, and temporary. What keeps you moving when the wind dies is not motivation. It is discipline. Discipline begins when emotion ends. It is the quiet decision to act when every fiber of your body screams for rest. It's the refusal to negotiate with your excuses. Motivation whispers, "You can do it." Discipline declares, "I will do it, no matter what." And in that declaration lies freedom, the kind of freedom that comes only from consistency. Because the disciplined person doesn't wait to feel ready. They understand that readiness is a myth. You do the work, and the feeling follows, never the other way around. Think of every person you admire, every story of success that echoes through time. None of them relied on motivation alone. The artist who paints masterpieces doesn't wake up every morning feeling inspired. The athlete who breaks records doesn't always want to train. The entrepreneur who builds empires doesn't wake up each day with excitement. They all learn the same truth: discipline is stronger than desire. The feeling fades, the habit remains. And habits, once forged, become your identity. When you act out of discipline long enough, you stop asking whether you want to. You simply do. It becomes who you are. At first, that can feel mechanical, even cold. You wake early not because you love the morning, but because you promised yourself you would. You study, not because you feel brilliant, but because you said you'd learn. You show up, not because the mood is right, but because your word is your law. Over time, those small acts of obedience to your own standards create a kind of internal gravity. You stop chasing motivation because you've built momentum. But the world romanticizes motivation. It celebrates the moment of the breakthrough, not the silent mornings that made it possible. We love the transformation video, the success story, the speech that makes our heart race, but rarely the repetition behind it. That's why so many people burn out. They chase the high of inspiration instead of mastering the discipline of repetition. They wait for energy instead of creating structure. They treat discipline as punishment instead of liberation. Yet true freedom is not doing whatever you feel like, it's having the power to do what you must, even when you don't feel like it. Every time you honor a commitment when no one is watching, you train your mind to trust yourself. Self-trust is the foundation of discipline. You can't fake it. You can post quotes, make plans, tell the world you're serious, but if your actions contradict your promises, your mind stops believing your words. That's why discipline feels heavy in the beginning, it's rebuilding that trust. Each small win whispers to your brain, "See, we can rely on us again." And once you trust yourself, you become unstoppable, because you no longer need external validation to move. Discipline also teaches patience, the rarest currency of our time. We live in an age of shortcuts, 30-second answers, overnight results, instant fame. Motivation thrives in that world because it promises speed. Discipline promises depth. Motivation gives you sparks, discipline builds fire. The disciplined person is not distracted by how long the journey takes, they focus on the next step. They know the law of progress: consistency beats intensity. One push-up every day beats 100 once a year. One page read every night beats a sudden binge of information you'll forget tomorrow. Progress is slow, but slow is smooth, and smooth becomes fast. And yes, discipline hurts. It strips away comfort and exposes your limits. There are mornings when you question why you're doing this at all, evenings when you're too tired to think, days when quitting seems logical. But that pain is not your enemy, it's your teacher. Pain is proof you're expanding. Every rep that burns, every hour that drags, every moment you resist the urge to stop is a seed planted in your future self. When you finally succeed, it won't be because of the days you felt inspired, it will be because of the days you didn't quit. To understand discipline, you must understand commitment. Commitment is the bridge between intention and achievement. Everyone intends to change, few commit. Intention lives in the mind, commitment lives in action. Motivation helps you start, discipline ensures you finish. When you commit, you remove the exit doors. You decide that showing up is non-negotiable. You don't decide each morning whether you'll act, you decided once, long ago, and now you simply follow through. That's what separates the dreamers from the doers. Dreamers wait for better conditions, doers create them. The funny thing about motivation is that it often returns when you no longer need it. Once you've built the habit, once you've learned to move without waiting to feel like it, motivation comes back, not as a spark, but as a companion. It becomes the reward for your consistency. The artist feels inspired again, the athlete rediscovers joy, the writer feels flow. But now it's different. The feeling is grounded. It's not fleeting hype, it's respect for the path you've walked. If you want to build discipline, start small. People fail because they set fire to their lives overnight. They try to change everything at once: diet, routine, mindset, and when the first wave of resistance hits, they crumble. Discipline is not built through grand gestures, it's carved through small, repeated victories. Wake up 10 minutes earlier. Keep one promise. Finish one task fully. Do that until it's natural. Then add another. Stack these tiny acts until your day becomes a reflection of your priorities. That's how discipline grows, quietly, steadily, relentlessly. Remember this: motivation asks, what do I feel like doing? Discipline asks, what needs to be done? That one question changes everything. Because feelings are unreliable. Some days you feel confident, some days you don't. Some days you love the process, others, you despise it. If you build your life around feelings, you build on sand. But if you build around principles, commitment, consistency, discipline, you build on rock. The storm can rage, but the foundation stands. There will be people who won't understand your discipline. They'll call you obsessed, rigid, boring. They'll say you're missing out, that life is about balance, that you should relax. But they don't see the vision you carry. They don't feel the fire that keeps you up when the world sleeps. Discipline often looks like deprivation to those without purpose. Yet you'll know, deep down, that it's the opposite. You're not restricting yourself, you're refining yourself. You're choosing long-term peace over short-term pleasure. And yes, there's a time for rest, for joy, for play. Discipline isn't cruelty. It's clarity. It's knowing when to push and when to pause. True discipline includes self-care, not self-neglect. It's not about punishing yourself into progress, it's about guiding yourself toward growth. You rest not because you're lazy, but because recovery makes you stronger. You say no not because you're cold, but because you respect your energy. You maintain boundaries because your time is sacred. Discipline, at its core, is self-respect in motion. One day, you'll look back and realize that discipline gave you everything motivation couldn't. It built the body, the career, the confidence, the peace. It didn't shout, it whispered. It didn't excite you, it shaped you. And that shape, the version of you who shows up no matter what, is the truest form of strength. Because discipline doesn't depend on luck, on mood, on praise. It depends only on you. There comes a point when discipline stops being something you do and becomes something you are. It's no longer an effort to show up, it's an instinct. You no longer question whether you'll do the hard thing, you simply do it. But to reach that point, you have to go through the valley of resistance, where everything inside you screams to return to comfort. That valley is the place where most people quit, not because they're weak, but because they misunderstood the process. They believed progress would always feel rewarding, that growth would come with constant satisfaction. But growth rarely feels good while it's happening. It feels like chaos, uncertainty, friction. That's because the person you used to be is fighting to survive, even as the person you're becoming is trying to emerge. Discipline is the art of choosing the future over the present. It's the moment you decide that temporary discomfort is a fair price for lasting change. Most people live trapped in cycles of regret because they keep trading long-term peace for short-term pleasure. They chase the feeling of being motivated rather than the reality of being consistent. They promise themselves they'll start tomorrow, not realizing that tomorrow is just another form of today. The truth is, there is no perfect moment to begin. There is only the decision to start now, in the middle of imperfection, in the middle of doubt. That decision, small, quiet, almost invisible, is where discipline begins to take root. There's a beauty in repetition that most people never discover. They call it boring, mechanical, lifeless. But repetition is where mastery hides. The musician who practices the same scale for hours is not bored, they are building precision. The boxer who throws the same punch 1,000 times is not wasting time, they are shaping instinct. The writer who edits the same sentence until it sings is not overthinking, they are tuning their craft. Discipline transforms repetition into refinement. Every cycle, every routine, every practice session is a brushstroke on the canvas of excellence. You may not notice the progress in the moment, but one day you'll look back and realize the distance you've traveled, and it will take your breath away. People often ask how to stay disciplined when no one believes in them. The truth is, discipline doesn't require belief from others. It demands belief from yourself. There will be seasons when you walk alone, when no one claps for you, when the results take longer than expected. That's when you must remember why you started. External validation fades, internal conviction endures. Every act of discipline is a vote for your future self. Each time you follow through, you reinforce the identity of someone who finishes what they begin. You become the kind of person who doesn't need to be pushed because you've learned to pull yourself forward. Still, discipline is not about punishing yourself into progress. It's about partnering with your purpose. The strongest discipline comes not from hatred of the present, but from love of what's possible. When you act out of love for your potential, discipline feels lighter. You no longer see it as restriction, you see it as alignment. You eat better not because you hate your body, but because you respect it. You study not because you fear failure, but because you value growth. You wake early not to prove something to others, but to meet yourself at your best. Love gives discipline meaning, and meaning gives it endurance. But love alone is not enough. Discipline demands structure. It's not romantic, it's rhythmic. You need systems that hold you accountable when your emotions fluctuate. The morning routine, the daily review, the planned rest, all these are scaffolds for your willpower. Without structure, even the strongest motivation crumbles under pressure. That's why disciplined people rely on habits, not moods. They build environments that make success easier and failure harder. They remove temptations, create triggers, track progress. They don't trust themselves to remember, they design systems that make discipline automatic. That's not weakness, it's wisdom. You can't win a battle of willpower every day. Instead, build a life where discipline becomes the default. There's also a hidden humility in discipline. It requires accepting that you don't control results, only effort. The outcome may take longer than expected, the world may not reward you right away, but the disciplined person keeps showing up. They've made peace with the fact that excellence doesn't guarantee recognition. They act out of integrity, not applause. And ironically, that's why they often succeed. When you stop chasing attention and start mastering consistency, people begin to notice. You attract respect by doing the work long after others have stopped talking about it. Discipline teaches you to see time differently. Most people view time as an enemy, a ticking clock reminding them how far they still have to go. The disciplined person treats time as an ally. They understand that small effort compounded daily creates extraordinary transformation. They don't demand instant returns because they know compound growth is invisible until it's unstoppable. A single drop of water seems weak, but given time, it shapes stone. A single disciplined act seems small, but multiplied across years, it reshapes destiny. Still, the journey is not linear. There will be setbacks, failures, relapses into old habits. The undisciplined mind interprets these as proof of unworthiness. The disciplined mind sees them as feedback. You fell short today. Good. Learn from it. Adjust. Move forward. Discipline doesn't mean perfection, it means persistence. You are allowed to fail as long as you don't quit. That's the unspoken rule of growth. Every mistake becomes a stepping stone when you refuse to let it define you. The disciplined person is not fearless, they've simply decided that fear is not a valid reason to stop. There will be times when you wonder whether it's worth it. Whether the sacrifices are too great, the effort too draining, the payoff too distant. In those moments, remember, discipline is not just shaping what you achieve, it's shaping who you become. The process itself is the reward. You may not see it day to day, but the act of keeping promises to yourself is transforming your identity. One day you'll wake up and realize you no longer seek permission to chase your dreams, you've become the kind of person who gives themselves permission. That quiet confidence is the fruit of disciplined living. As you grow, you'll also notice something profound: discipline creates peace. Not the kind of peace that comes from avoiding challenge, but the kind that comes from knowing you're doing what you're meant to do. Your mind stops warring with itself. You no longer carry the guilt of procrastination, the anxiety of unfulfilled potential, the restlessness of inconsistency. You may still be tired, but it's a clean kind of tired, a tiredness that comes from progress, not from avoidance. That peace is priceless. It's what every restless, unmotivated soul is truly searching for, even if they don't know it yet. And as you deepen your discipline, you start to see that it's not just about personal gain. It's about service. Discipline allows you to show up for others more fully. When you keep your promises, you become reliable. When you master your emotions, you become a source of calm. When you pursue excellence, you inspire others to do the same. Your discipline becomes a ripple that strengthens everyone around you. In that sense, it's not selfish, it's generous. Because the world doesn't need more people who feel like doing good things, it needs more people who do good things even when they don't feel like it. One of the greatest lessons discipline teaches is that fulfillment is built, not found. We often wait to feel fulfilled before we take action, thinking purpose will appear like a lightning bolt. But purpose grows through disciplined effort. You find meaning not by searching for it, but by committing to something and working at it. Passion is the consequence of discipline, not its prerequisite. The more you invest in something, the more it matters to you. You fall in love with what you nurture. That's why disciplined people seem so deeply connected to their work. It's not luck, it's investment. They built the bond through years of showing up. In the quiet of consistent effort, you start to hear your own truth more clearly. The noise of doubt fades. You no longer compare yourself to others because you're too focused on becoming your best self. You stop needing external approval because your satisfaction comes from within. The applause of the world can't match the contentment of self-respect. You realize that discipline was never a cage, it was a doorway to freedom. The freedom to trust yourself, to live on purpose, to wake up knowing that whatever the day demands, you're capable of facing it. As this realization sinks in, the relationship between motivation and discipline transforms. Motivation becomes a visitor again, welcome, but not necessary. You still enjoy it when it comes, but you no longer depend on it. It's the cherry on top, not the foundation of your life. You've learned to move regardless of mood, to create regardless of chaos, to continue regardless of comfort. That's what separates those who dream from those who build. Builders rely on discipline, dreamers rely on inspiration. And the world remembers the builders. And yet, discipline doesn't mean you have to become hard or emotionless. It's not about erasing joy or spontaneity. It's about channeling your energy intentionally. The disciplined person can laugh, rest, play, but they do so without losing focus. Their joy is richer because it's earned. Their rest is deeper because it's deserved. They understand balance not as doing everything at once, but as doing the right thing at the right time. Discipline gives you that wisdom, the clarity to know what matters most and the strength to honor it. There comes a day when you realize that the battle was never between motivation and laziness, it was between who you are and who you could be. Discipline is the bridge that connects those two versions of you. Every morning you wake up, that bridge waits for you to cross it. Some days the walk feels easy, the air clear and light. Other days it feels like climbing through storm winds, with doubt whispering that it would be easier to turn back. But if you keep moving, step by step, something changes, the storm loses its power. You begin to trust the process more than the weather. At first, you practiced discipline because you wanted results. You wanted to see the scale move, the grades rise, the bank account grow. You wanted proof that your effort mattered. But after a while, the deeper reward reveals itself. Discipline gives you dignity. You stop needing the world to measure your worth because you have witnessed your own growth. You have met your own strength. That quiet pride, knowing you kept going when it would have been easier to stop, is the kind of wealth no one can give or take away. It's self-respect turned into a heartbeat. The truth about discipline is that it never wastes a moment. Even on days when you feel like you made no progress, you built resilience. You trained patience. You strengthened focus. Every repetition, even the imperfect ones, rewired a tiny part of your mind toward perseverance. The small, unseen victories accumulate until one day, everything feels different. You wake up and realize that the things that used to overwhelm you no longer do. You've expanded. What once required effort now happens naturally. That is the quiet miracle of consistent effort. It transforms difficulty into normality. And when you reach that level of calm strength, people start to notice. They ask how you stay so steady, how you manage to keep showing up without burning out. They assume you found some secret well of endless motivation. But you know the truth, you just stopped asking yourself how you felt about it. You replaced overthinking with action, and the action created peace. Discipline simplified your life. It cut through the noise of indecision and gave you a clear rhythm: wake, work, learn, grow, rest, repeat. The simplicity is not boring, it's beautiful. It gives your mind room to breathe. In time, discipline also softens you. It teaches compassion, because you realize how hard it truly is to change. You stop judging others for failing their promises and start understanding the weight of being human. You learn that everyone is fighting something invisible: fear, fatigue, self-doubt. Discipline makes you strong enough to lift others without losing your balance. You become the calm voice that says, "Keep going. You can handle this." Your consistency becomes an example. Without trying to preach, you start teaching by the way you live. There will still be seasons of darkness. Periods when life feels heavy, when nothing seems to move no matter how disciplined you are. Those moments are not proof of failure, they are invitations to deepen your practice. Discipline in the dark means trusting that the roots are growing even when the surface looks barren. You keep tending the soil. You water your habits. You show up, quietly, faithfully. And then one day, light returns, and everything you nurtured beneath the surface blooms at once. People will call it sudden success, but you will know it was patience in disguise. Discipline also changes your relationship with fear. At the beginning, fear feels like a wall. Every new challenge seems impossible. But when you practice discipline long enough, fear becomes a signal instead of a stop sign. It tells you where growth is waiting. You stop running from it and start moving toward it, step by step, breath by breath. Courage is not the absence of fear, it's the decision that something else matters more. Discipline keeps you aligned with that something. It reminds you that discomfort is temporary but regret is permanent. When you start living this way, your identity shifts. You no longer describe yourself as someone trying to be disciplined, you simply are. You begin to see yourself as capable, reliable, consistent. That identity becomes a compass. You act in accordance with it automatically. The same way water flows to the lowest point, your actions flow toward excellence. You don't need constant reminders or external motivation. the standard lives inside you now. That's when you truly become free. Because discipline is not control imposed from the outside, it's alignment created from within. Freedom through discipline might sound like a paradox, but it's the ultimate truth. When you master yourself, life opens up. You can choose your direction without being dragged by impulses. You can rest without guilt and work without resentment. You're no longer at the mercy of moods or distractions. You can sit in silence without reaching for your phone, face challenge without shrinking, commit without flinching. That's real freedom, the ability to live deliberately. And yet, discipline is not the end of the story, it's the foundation for a deeper life. Once you've learned to control your actions, you can begin to refine your intention. You can aim your discipline towards something larger than yourself. Because discipline without purpose becomes routine, discipline with purpose becomes legacy. Use it to build, to heal, to serve. Let your consistency make the world a little better, even if only by showing that such steadiness is possible. There will be moments when you look back at the person you used to be, the one who relied on bursts of motivation, and you'll feel gratitude. Not shame, not anger, but gratitude. That version of you did their best with what they knew. They started the journey that led here. Motivation lit the first spark, discipline kept it alive. Without both, there would have been no flame. So thank the moments of inspiration that got you moving, but honor the days of discipline that kept you from stopping. Both were necessary, but only one was sustainable. If you ever feel lost again, return to the basics. One small promise kept today. One task finished fully. One honest effort. Discipline doesn't demand perfection, it asks for presence. As long as you're present in the work, you're moving forward. Every time you act with integrity toward your goals, you're realigning with your higher self. That is the quiet, continuous revolution that discipline creates, the merging of who you are with who you are meant to be. As the years pass, the rewards compound. You'll notice you no longer crave praise. You'll value peace more than excitement, consistency more than chaos. The noise of the world will still be there, trends, distractions, shortcuts, but it won't tempt you the same way. You'll have seen what slow, steady effort can do. You'll understand that the real joy isn't in finishing, it's in becoming. And every day you show up, you'll feel that becoming more deeply. When you finally reach the goals that once seemed impossible, you'll smile, not because it was easy, but because it was worth it. You'll understand that the destination was never separate from the journey, it was created by it. Discipline built the path beneath your feet one step at a time. And as you stand on that summit, you'll see another mountain in the distance and feel something familiar, not the rush of motivation, but the calm of readiness. You'll take a breath, adjust your footing, and start climbing again. Because now you know, you don't need to wait to feel inspired. You are ready, always, because you are disciplined.